Hello, hello. Good afternoon, everybody. We are the closers for today, so I'm sure there's dinner and pubs waiting. Welcome to the last marketing track session. If you are here for AI, the ultimate easy button, you're in the right room. So this is, I would say, Corey's and my version of the AI easy button. We have seen a version of this before today, but let's dive into this. My name is Rick Bauer. I am the Director of Customer Transformation at Sitecore. Our team is one that works with partners and goes out and does kind of high-level road mapping and more with our customers to help guide them along their journey. I come from being a customer way back to a partner. I was an MVP while I could be for a number of years, and I've been with Sitecore for about 3 years. I am very excited to be presenting with my longtime good friend and I hope and fellow MVP, but I'll let you tell your story. Corey Smith.
Yeah, thanks, Rick. And as Rick said, I'm Corey Smith. I'm an independent consultant living in Atlanta, Georgia in the US. I've been doing Sitecore for about 9 years now. I've been a Sitecore MVP for 8 of those. I am a dad to a toddler who is starting his terrible twos. So I'm a happy dad right now, and a couple of months might not be anymore. I'm also a lawn care and smooth jazz enthusiast, so if you like either of those things, come talk to me over beers later.
No joke, he actually knows what the grass is out there. He looked it up, so. So anyway, thanks for letting us speak with you today. Don't really need to memorize this. It's going to be a story in 2 parts. I will basically be setting us up with a little background on what we're trying to do. And I'm a marketer, Corey's a developer, so we've presented this way for quite some time and find that it's really nice to have kind of that left brain, right brain approach to this. So I'm the demanding marketer saying what I want, and Corey's the one providing it and doing the work, and then I say, no, not good enough. Anyway, so that's what we're going to be. So why are we here? So we basically I want an easy button. I basically want a way to develop campaigns in content operations with a click of a button. So again, we're going to see some overlap, and this was a journey we took on our own before we saw what Sitecore was doing with AI, and that's okay. We took our own journey, and we're going to prove out that you can do this right now by yourself, but it's basically we wanted an easy button, and we wanted to create that to accelerate the marketing strategy. We wanted to make it repeatable and scalable, and we wanted to include content operations, Sitecore Connect, and AI. And for good reason. So AI is now a top priority. We hear this. I've been around Sitecore space for a long time. I know I see several Sitecore marketer MVPs in here as well. It used to be personalization. That was all we heard, personalization. That's the top priority for CMOs. This is certainly focused in a certain lane, but again, this is the first time I think I've presented in my life where I'm not talking about personalization and talking more about AI. And it is definitely a priority, so there's a good reason to build off of this. And Sitecore has made it easy. There's already a foundation of governance, there's a foundation of control, and there's a foundation of just really being able to review and push through workflow and have that easy, I'll call it control, but not the content piece. So we wanted to be able to build off of the content piece. And so here's the CMO that's up all night saying we need to make my life better. We need to please provide a better experience. So we wanted to extend content operations to be able to do that. And fortunately for them, their teams are already using AI quite extensively to write copy, to create images, and I've seen all of your LinkedIn posts and mine too that are suddenly really verbose and flowery and cute. You have a lot of rocket ships and things like that. So also know your AI tells, take those out. So we're adopting that, and that's great for those CMOs, but we wanted to make sure that we were providing some control and some locks and limits like Content Hub already does around workflow, et cetera. But we needed to create some brand tonality control. So this was the biggest ask I had, was like, if I'm a marketing leader, I don't want to just hand my team the keys to Gen AI to create all of our campaigns for set quarter or set half with no sort of control. So our AI generated CMO said, give me some of that, give me some of the levers that I can pull before our content marketers can start to access that power and be able to really change it. So you heard Roger say this morning, brand tonality, that's what we were focused on as well, as a kind of a leading edge of this. And again, think about this, AI is moving fast. This was a discipline that was for PhDs and data scientists for quite some time. Suddenly, we're finding ourselves in the world where citizen creators have all sorts of access to AI, and they're able to use it and kind of go crazy with it. Again, all your LinkedIn posts. So, in the age of this, we need some of those locks and limits. So again, it was pretty critical for us to have that control around it. So we're going to have a couple GIFs kind of looping here, and I'm just going to show you, first of all, that brand tonality control. So this is a case where the CMO is going into a marketing campaign section in content operations, and you'll see up on the upper right, there's brand tonality. The campaigns are in there as well, but this is the approach that we chose to take. We can, as that CMO, I can give it a name that I can remember. So we have a fictional Greenscape Technologies company. I can add in my strategic theme, my mission, my vision. These are some fields that we chose. We could extend this. I mean, I had a spreadsheet full of these, and Corey said, not on my watch. I'm not going to get all that done. I'll get 4 done for SUGCON. But so that's what we kind of stuck with this and pushed that through. So now you'll see that there's an old version, and now there's this brand new version. So there's a little versioning around that, and you'll see that the content marketer will not have access to necessarily that piece. So you'll see some controls, but you'll notice that there were campaigns below, and there was the tonality, the brand tonality above. So now, with those locks and limits in place, this is where we're going to allow the marketer to go in and have AI start to generate all of the different campaign ideas for the content operations grid. And let me be really clear, I think we all know this. It's creating a first draft. I mean, AI doesn't know it's creating a first draft. I hope AI doesn't know it's creating a first Humans, please do not let AI think it's anything more than a first draft. You have to go in and edit it and make sure it's something that's more meaningful. But same dashboard, the content creator is not going to be able to change the brand tonality. They can go in and start to create that marketing campaign. They can, however, select the brand tonality from a list. Obviously, this could be governed where you could only select so many, or one particular for that matter, and then go on and start to build out a campaign as normal, put in their dates, and add in this information, all these campaign descriptions and marketing goals. These are all feeders into Gen AI to be able to deliver back. Again, just like building a regular campaign, pick your audience, pick your channels, and go from there. Social media, email with reference, save. And I think that is it. Oh, yeah. So then it does build it out all along my left-hand side here. And you'll see again that there's the tonality section and the campaign details section. And then you go up and once that's available, now we're going to hit generate content. Here, in high speed, Corey will get into the details of what this actually takes in real time. This is the return from AI, sped up a little bit, but you'll see that we have our fields, that we're kind of used to if you're familiar with content operations or in Content Hub and being able to add in different fields. And obviously, there's the brief, there's other things built out, and we can extend this and start to go further. And you can look at it in different list forms and things like that. But again, imagine, if you will, with us, because we just wanted to focus on the campaign section, taking this further, as you heard this morning. And a lot of you may have already seen this in content operations. You can already generate, copy with AI. Imagine that, built out into content operations as well. So same idea. And then same thing with images. So this is just finishing out the blog post, the blog body. But same thing with images, and this is something I see in the room. We've been presenting for a while on an AI tour, but again, the ability to create an image or take an image and say, hey, I want more like this, so here's a train, and I basically can use DALL-E and say, I'd like 5 variants on this at a certain resolution, generate it, kick it off, and DALL-E goes to work. So again, this is already technology that you've seen a different version of this morning. It's an extension on what we've already, what we're trying to demonstrate is start here, easy button, click it, build your campaigns, then you can start to go through and build out that content, use AI to build out the different fields, and even use DALL-E then to generate images. So, that's kind of, again, a draft, and that's kind of the future of what we're seeing with the campaign content operations, a campaign calendar, and being able to build out all those details supported by AI. That's the pretty fun stuff of what it looks like in the end. Corey's
Okay, so Rick has shown all the cool stuff happening in Content Hub, and now we'll go and look behind the scenes how this is working. So of course, as Rick showed, the story starts when you click that Generate Content button on a campaign in Sitecore. What this button does is it's an action in Content Hub that is calling a recipe in Sitecore Connect. As we saw this morning, Peter bravely did a live demo, which I'm not going to do, and built a recipe in Sitecore Connect and showed it running. Looks like this, of course. It starts off just like Peter showed this morning. There's a trigger that's listening for requests to come in. So what Content Hub is doing when you click that button is it's sending all the details from the campaign, all of those fields. And it's sending a reference to the brand tonality, and it's sending references to each of the audiences and each of the channels. So since we only get a reference to the brand tonality, we don't get all those fields in that initial request. We have to go back to Content Hub and get all the fields for the brand tonality. We do the same thing for the audiences. We're going to do the same thing for the channels, because what we're ultimately going to be doing is building up prompts to go to ChatGPT and ask it to generate content for us. We can't give ChatGPT an audience reference from Content Hub because it's not going to know what to do with that ID. So we're getting all the names of the channels, we're getting all the names of the audiences, and once we've got all that data, we're ready to start building prompts with ChatGPT. So the first thing that we do is we're going to build up a system prompt. The system prompt is basically setting the stage for the work that ChatGPT is going to do. And as Rick mentioned before, the brand tonality document, that's really like setting the stage for all of the marketing. It's going to set the stage for all the campaigns that we generate. So in the system prompt, we're going to give the name of the company, some company details, and then we're going to give the brand tonality document. And it's got all the fields from the brand tonality form that Rick showed. Another thing that we're going to do in the system prompt is we're going to tell ChatGPT this brand tonality document was written by marketing leadership. So we want ChatGPT to understand that this is the gospel when you're generating content, and if there are any conflicts with the campaign details that we're going to give it later, whatever is in the brand tonality document is always going to win, because this might have been written by the CMO or some other director in marketing. So once we've set that up in the system prompt, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to tell ChatGPT that we want it to generate function calls. Normally when you're working with ChatGPT, it's always going to return to you paragraphs and paragraphs of text. When we're working in Sitecore Connect, that's not helpful for us. We actually need structured data that we can push back into Content Hub, and that's what the purpose of the function call is. It tells ChatGPT, don't give us paragraphs of text, give us JSON that we can then parse and push back into Content Hub, and we'll look at this a little bit more in a moment. So once we've built up the system prompt, we're going to be reusing that system prompt for every audience and every channel that we generate content for. At this point, we can start iterating over all of our audiences. So we go over them one by one. And then within each audience, we're going to go over each channel and start building up a user prompt. The user prompt is what's actually going to tell ChatGPT to do the work. In the user prompt, we're going to give those campaign details that Rick showed off earlier. And so we've got those fields like the campaign description, the marketing goals. And then very importantly, we're going to tell it what channel and which audience we want ChatGPT to be generating content for on this request. And the really cool thing about this is we found that like you tell ChatGPT you want it to generate content for the social media channel, and just from those words, ChatGPT will put emoji and it'll put hashtags in the content, whereas it won't do that for other channels. So it's pretty important to specify that stuff, and it's cool to see that in action, that it's just able to do it. So yeah, that's building up the user prompt, and once that's done, just like Peter showed this morning, go off to ChatGPT and have it do some work. Now this takes a bit of time. It's not super fast. And so while that's kind of happening in the background, we'll talk a little bit about, again, what we just sent to ChatGPT. So we sent a system prompt with the brand tonality stuff. We sent the user prompt with the campaign and the specific audience and channel we want content for. And then probably the most important thing is the fact that we asked ChatGPT to generate a function call for us. So when you ask ChatGPT to generate a function call for you, you just tell it, hey, I have an imaginary function. It's not real. ChatGPT is not going to call it. You just say, I have an imaginary function called create content item, and it takes 5 parameters. In our case, we wanted brief, we wanted content, headline, title, quote. And you tell ChatGPT, for this function call, generate content for each one of those parameters and return it as JSON. And that's what ChatGPT is going to do. Additionally, you give details about each of those parameters. So you say for the content, for example, give me 400 to 500 words. For the quote, make up a person and make up a quote that's relevant to the content. Give us a catchy headline that we can go and use in advertisements, so on and so forth. So ChatGPT has more context when it's generating each of those. So that's what we're actually sending off to ChatGPT to do our work. And once it's finished, then in Sitecore Connect, we can parse what ChatGPT returns to us, and it's going to look like this. It's just going to be JSON that's easily parsable, and we can put that back into Content Hub as entities. So it's got our brief, content, headline, quote, title. Before we actually put the content into Content Hub, we're going to do one more thing, and that's update the user prompt. So when you're working with ChatGPT in the browser or on the app, you're having a conversation with ChatGPT. It knows about things that you've discussed previously. When you're working with the API, each of your requests is discrete. They're not connected with previous requests that you've made. So it's up to you if you want ChatGPT, for example, to consider content it's already generated for this audience. You've got to send that on every request. So for every channel within an audience, what we're going to do is we're going to say, hey, ChatGPT, you've already generated content for the social media channel for the Platinum Club members audience. So consider this content when you generate content for the next channel. And we just found that that generates a lot more cohesive content across all the channels within an audience. Whereas if you didn't do this, then your content in the campaign in all the channels would just kind of be disjointed for an audience. So you can imagine that by the time we get to the last channel for an audience, that prompt is pretty giant. Like it's got a lot of content going into it, but it's worth it. So yeah, finally then we just go and put the content in Content Hub. And yeah, as Rick showed, after a little while it'll show up. Takes about 5 or 6 minutes to get all this content, but a lot quicker than writing it all yourself.
Yes. And if you use video editing, you can just accelerate that process.
Right. Little magic.
But to that point, 6 minutes now, right? And
right.
Also 6 minutes to create an entire campaign plan. How long, I mean, first draft, how long does that take a human to do right now? So.
Right.
Click button, get coffee.
Exactly. So some lessons learned in working with the OpenAI API. The first thing is that ChatGPT is very temperamental. Sometimes it's just lazy. When we started working with this, So I showed that what we're doing is we're going and making a request to ChatGPT one by one by one by one for each audience and channel. But when we first started working on this, we just had one prompt that we would send to ChatGPT, and we would list out all the audience and channel combos and say, give us content for every single one of these combos. And what would happen is ChatGPT just wouldn't. Like, you would just get missing blocks of the table there. And yeah, all you can do is retry or just give up. So that kind of forced us to change our strategy and do the one by one thing, which is why it takes about 5 minutes. I mean, if we could go to ChatGPT and get all of our content in one request, it wouldn't take that long, but it's not reliable enough to do that, unfortunately. Kind of building on that, we also noticed kind of a domino effect with our prompts when we changed them. So when we first got started on this, that initial prompt where we requested all the audience and channel content in one go, it was actually decently reliable. Like maybe 75% of the time we would get the full table. But the content was really bad. Like you would have duplications across audiences and channels. So we had this huge part of the prompt that was dedicated to telling ChatGPT, give us content for this combo, this combo, this combo, this combo, this combo. And what we did is we left that alone, but then just kind of tweaked the front of the prompt a little bit and said, make the content unique. And when we did that, reliability just plummeted. Like we would never get content for all the channels and audiences anymore. So just kind of interesting that small tweaks to the prompt that don't seem like they should affect certain results actually do. The last thing with it being temperamental, ChatGPT just throws errors a lot, and it's not your fault. So you can take one prompt and send it to ChatGPT 5 times, and 1 or 2 times it's going to fail, and that's it. Like I've opened tickets with OpenAI's team before, and they're just like, nah, just try again. We don't know what's wrong. Okay. So when you're building things like this, just go ahead and have resiliency and retry strategies in the front of your mind. Sitecore Connect makes it pretty easy, so it's actually got steps to retry on errors.
I'm going to give this right back to you. So, yeah. So I mean, everything we've been seeing today about AI, and I love the comments again that, watch this space. Obviously, it's moving quickly. It is. I do think it is bright. I also take great joy in the words that DALL-E puts in images and things like that. There's just some failings with it, but there's a lot of cool things that are happening along the way. I'll just. And again, this is moving so fast. Mo and I have presented this slide. This might even be dated at this point, some of the things. But for example, Windows has put a Copilot key on their keyboard. It's the first change, I think, since 1997 to a Windows keyboard. So, I mean, AI is not going anywhere. Get comfortable with it. AI's new video model, Sora, it might be available now. Is it, Mo? No, it's not. Okay. So, director of AI right here, Mo. So, but again, we're moving quickly. If you've seen any of the videos created by AI, it's pretty fantastic. Sam Altman needs $7 trillion for chips because we need to power all of the power here for this. ChatGPT 5.0, and there's going to be changes, and this is relevant to kind of some of the pieces that we're talking about.
Yeah, so ChatGPT 5 is coming. Obviously, we don't know what's going to be in it, but I think this morning Liz Nelson said something. When an AI product needs to be reasonable, check back in a month. The world is evolving fast, and that's true. So this POC that we built builds upon some work that Brian Bishop, who you'll see on a slide in just a moment, started on about a year ago. And Brian hit kind of a roadblock when he was working on it, and that's that he couldn't get ChatGPT to give JSON back reliably. You could ask ChatGPT to give you JSON, and sometimes it would, sometimes it wouldn't, and it was just more retries, right? Like just retry until you get parsable JSON. Like Liz said, when an AI product needs to be reasonable, check back in a month. A year later, I start working on this. There's function calls, right? So the roadblock that we ran
there's one more in there, and that is the robots are coming. So NVIDIA announced a moonshot to create an embodied human-level AI in robot form. Anybody nervous? So it's not exactly the 80-mile-an-hour robot dogs running across the field, but yet. So I did see a robot do a complete full flip, and there's no hydraulics in it, so that's pretty crazy. So anyway, and it's not there's no bullet point here, but Sitecore is doing a lot with AI. You saw it this morning, and it's moving fast. Watch this space. When we put this together, we had a feeling that it was already probably done or going to be done. Well, as we saw this morning, there's leaps and bounds there, so it's very exciting to see. But this speech got us tickets to SUGCON, so. A couple quick thank yous. Corey was calling out Brian Bishop, 3 folks at Sitecore. Brian definitely helped us out with a lot of the tooling around this. Mo has been a great resource and is a great resource, and he's in the room. I keep pointing to him. And Jonathan Corley also on my team. These are 3 of several, I'll add Liz into that, of great minds at Sitecore around AI that you can certainly have long conversations with about the topic. So I just wanted to give a real strong plug to them. And then lastly, a shout out to all of our sponsors. We really appreciate that very much, especially Jason Wilkerson and his charging station. Definitely got to love that. So with that, we want to say, Sláinte, thank you.